Hello, live from New York City, it's the Dream Shakerz podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Odom, here with my co-host,
George Nunez.
and we are back with episode 29.
Yes,
Today's special
sir.
today's special guest is Tarence Rice. He is a Detroit native and an HBCU alum, having obtained his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Tennesse State University. Tarence has also had undergraduate experiences at Harvard via SBMP and previously completed engineering intern roles at Eaton, Lockheed Martin, and Texas Instruments. He is now pursuing a Ph.D. in electrical and computer engineering as a GEM fellow at Rice University in Texas. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Tarence.
Man, I want to congratulate you boys on putting this together. Man, it inspires me. Yeah, getting that touch from the culture, understanding more like your perspectives, man. I'm proud of y'all, man. So I just want to give some praises to y'all, man. But thank you for putting me on the podcast.
Of course, brother. And we want to celebrate you. Today's your day. And we would love to start off by saying, how's your day? Welcome to the show. We truly appreciate you for joining the show and the new episode. What's going on? How you feeling this morning?
Man, everything good, man. I feel like this is gonna be a good summer. Very productive. Definitely seeing the progress. I got interns. I got work in progress within my work, as well as some things working financially as well. So hey, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed.
And speaking of blessed, we'll get into all of your accomplishments, your accolades, you becoming a doctor. I mean, I get a chance to say I finally know a doctor, man. Like that's beautiful. But before we get into all that, let's take it back. Let's go back to the humble beginnings, your upbringing, the family. What was it like growing up in Detroit?
I mean, Detroit is a different place in my eyes. I feel like it's a lot of places, that's different, but Detroit is unique of a kind. Just to throw something out there, like a lot of people from college, like we went back for a conference, and they was like, "Man, like your city is like Gotham." You know what I'm saying? And they said it in a way like, "Wow, like it's really that bad. Like it's really like it's a beautiful place, but it's like our people and kind of like what we done to our city, like we can do better." But like growing up there wise, like it gave me the rocks that I needed to stand on. It gave me the foundation, it gave me the perspective. It allowed me to see myself as a black man, see the community, and see how we can impact and change. And it inspired me to go back to say, hey, we still got a lot of work to do, a lot of change that we can do within the community. So definitely, man, I enjoyed my time there. It gave me the thick skin that I got now. So hey, I love it.
Well, you've always been a person that is intellectually curious, and I've always appreciated when we talk because I know at times we can just really dive into a broad array of topics. But you credit in a recent article that your father really provided that initial push in terms of understanding your passion for the sciences. So can we dive into that a bit more? Can we explain that interest in education and how that all started and how that led you to the current point in time you're at today? And again, this was all revealed to me through an article and a feature you did with Rice University.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like growing up, like the biggest part, like my dad really tried to expose me to is just like thinking outside the box. So I used to come over, used to watch like cartoons or like different shows on MTV and like the basic stuff. And he's like, nah, like we're watching the Science Channel. Like we're gonna like this is what I'm curious about. Like no, like we're gonna watch like the History Channel. No, we're gonna watch like the like all these different channels about like history, about science, about animals, all these different spaces that I never was like really exposed to, just coming a normal background. And so like typically like when you watch stuff like that, you like no, like you're outside of the box. And so he definitely pushed me to see things from a new perspective, expose me to different sites and different things that kind of spun my interest into different ways. So I definitely want to give him credit for exposing me to that side of things.
And exposure and access is something that Red we would always talk about. You and I we would go back and forth, right? And access coupled with mindset, obviously, right? You wanting to go out and pursue things. So what ultimately led you into engineering and the broad scope of tech?
Yeah. So what really led me was taking a course at my high school, and so it was like a electrical course, and we did things such as like design radios, and actually like made them by hand, like soldering them and building them to see where you get a signal, see what's wrong with the radio, and so like the whole premises of debugging and building and developing something gave me that initial exposure. Nowadays we don't really like build things by hands. Like sometimes like recently this week we had to do some things in the lab and solder and stuff, but having that exposure and experience to be able to say, hey, like I can design something and build it out into a system. But I guess the spin-off nowadays, everything's coded based, so now it takes a thing like what we did in the past, something physical, and now we take it to a new level and we have exposure. And I see like tech going to a whole nother level in a couple more years. So just knowing like you're a part of the future, that you can have input on the next generation of systems and softwares and things that'll make our lives better is the reason why I aim towards tech.
Going to a whole nother level, I think that's a nice jumping off point to our next question and why you ultimately decided to obtain a PhD instead of immediately using the skills you had gained from your engineering degree in industry. Can you detail that?
Yeah, man. In my undergrad, I just felt like I didn't have enough. Um, I felt like I wanted more. Like I'm always like curious. I'm always deep about learning and just speaking over with some friends. They're like, you're always challenging. You're always trying to see what's next, what's best. And so like I realized like now that I'm here, it's like, hey, no, like I'm around a bunch of people that are very intellectually curious. They're very smart, and it's not like that we're challenging each other, but we want the best for the outcome. And so just being around a group of people that think like that have that mindset, is kind of what I wanted. I knew, from exposure from professors, they're like, hey, like there is a lane for getting like a PhD. And so like they like here, no, like here's the lane. Like I've done it. Like I'm like, oh wow. So I really can get it paid for. Like I really can like have a good like surrounding of support. Like and so that allowed me to see that the PhD route and that it was possible for me. So all through undergrad, I had no interest in going back to school, but hey, through like exposure and experience, kind of got that umbrella of support coming from my undergrad university to pursue that PhD.
That's so amazing. Could you talk about the overall breakdown of what a PhD entails, the mindset you had to get into to pursue this PhD, and more specifically, what are some of the common misconceptions people have of obtaining a PhD, right? Because some people don't really know what it is, or some people shy away from it. It's like, oh, that's too many years of schooling. Oh, I'm not really into academia. So could you get into that and talk more about it?
Yeah, man. So it was funny. Like last Christmas, I went home and I was around some friends and family, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting my doctorate degree." And then my cousins was like, "You're not being a doctor?" And I said, "Like, no, I'm getting my doctoral degree. I'm not being a doctor. I'm getting my doctorate degree. It's a bit different. Like I'm not becoming a doctor." And so like just I guess to answer like your first point, like a doctorate degree is just advanced degree. It's a degree in philosophy. Like it's really like I'm a philosopher of science. That's how I look at it. And so within that, like you're thinking about the latest and the greatest, and you're trying to design and push that even further. And so they always say undergrad just kind of gives you the skills. A master's, you're like right at cutting edge, and then when you get the PhD, like you pushing for like new objectives, new topics, and seeing things in a new perspective. And so this is allowing me to be on the cusp and innovate. And so I guess within the mindset and wrapping everything around, it's like I'm around some of the most brilliant people. I literally have access to some people that's doing some very great things from all companies, from the Air Force to Intel to some of the spaces that I'm in within wireless communications. Like I'm around some of the top people, top conferences around the world, and like I wouldn't have that access if I didn't do the PhD. If I would have got a job, I would have been from the bottom and trying to work my way to the top. But coming in with the PhD allowed me to have like that direct access. It's like skipping some steps in a way, but it's allowing me to grow. Like I look at life different, my whole perspective. Like the exposure is unreal. So I'm definitely am blessed to be in this position. And I hope I answer all the questions. You wrapped a lot in that, but yeah, definitely.
You're around the top minds. I think that was something that was really interesting to hear from that response because I understand that advising and mentorship can be a huge part of the PhD. So, can you explain for our audience the importance of those two factors and how they impact the quality of learning you receive from the degree?
Yeah. And so like I guess once you get into the space of PhD and masters and all that and trying to figure out, how you can grow as a person, uh I look at it in this current situation that, hey, I'm here because I need help. You know, I'm here because I need you to grow me and expose me to things that I haven't been exposed to. And so I'm always tossing up and turning and trying to see how much of it am I supposed to know, how much of it that I'm supposed to get, groomed into. And so like you definitely want to put the work out there, but then also you don't know everything, because if you knew everything, you wouldn't be doing a degree. And so that's something that I'm not afraid of, because you can get clammed up and you can say, hey, like I'm supposed to get more results, or I'm supposed to know this, I'm supposed to know that, but like no, we're here really to learn. Like you go to school to learn and grow, but then also you don't want to be just there just doing things in emotion. You want to make sure that you provide it. And so for me at least, just finding that mixture of both growing and also keeping up with the work as well. So it's definitely something that I think about daily, but then also something I'm not afraid to do, because we all make mistakes and we learn from experience. And so I'm just trying to get exposed to the full arena of this PhD cycle. So definitely good question.
Earlier into the interview slash podcast, you talked a bit about aid and being able to get funding for this program. Could you talk about the different fellowships that you were able to partake in that allowed allotted you the opportunity to eventually fund this program, right? Because we know graduate school isn't cheap. We know that this is a struggle for sure, right? And we would love for you to dive into that. And also, right, I think a added layer to that question would be, uh, I know we know the why, we know the why in the PhD, but I guess the follow up would be, why choosing a PhD over an MBA program? Because we met at Harvard SVMP, or getting your master's of science in electrical engineering.
Right. So I guess money wise is I always take the approach of who has my money. Like one of the guys named Grant Cardone, real estate guy, he always put the perspective like who has my money. And so essentially like I took that perspective and tried to figure out, okay, graduate school. Okay, what options are out there to fund me? And so what I realized is that mostly all PhD programs fully fund all their PhD students, no matter if it's coming with the fellowship or without. But the fellowship helps. It allows you the access again to kind of open up doors, saying that you bring in your own money to the university. And so within that, it's a number of fellowships, like the NSF, National Science Foundation, the Ford Foundation. Those are like the big ones. But then the biggest one for like minorities is the GEM Fellowship, which I was fortunate to be granted. And so Yeah, man, it was a blessing to get some funding to kind of open up the door to say, hey, look, I have money. Like you guys should have me, and especially having the name to having like a gym rep on your campus. That is that's very good. I guess what was your second question? It was something I wanted to say on it.
Yes, the second question is, we know the why in you pursuing the PhD. And the follow-up question would be, why choosing a PhD over an MBA program, which we wrestled with the idea back and forth since we met at the Harvard SVMP program. Why not pursue an MBA program or a Master's of Science in Electrical Engineering?
Yeah. So it's, I guess along my journey, hey, I got a lot of friends that want to do the MBA. I'm gonna push y'all to do it. I'm gonna let y'all come up with the business, the operations, and all that. We're gonna come up with the technology, the intellectual property, and all that stuff. So just building that network, a circle that I can get the exposure through y'all, through friends and family that will do that. I'm always curious about the MBA kind of business side. So fortunately, we do have a business program at Rice, so I have like been involved with them doing pitch competitions. We were able to win one last pre-COVID, so that validated.
Congrats on that, brother.
Appreciate you. That validated that business will be an option, but it's something. It's something about like the PhD and the route and some of the people that I'm around that kind of challenged me a bit more to say. Not taking anything away from the MBA programs, but engineers think differently. Like we all can I can bring you around some of the circles, and you can just see that once you are around this group of people, like your exposure and your thinking kind of changes a bit. But just being versatile. For me, I wanted to be in an uncomfortable position around people that that are cutting edge brains. Like literally like are some of the best of the best in putting out work and information for the next generation, our kids. And so being able to have that exposure to add value within these spaces, but then also like having friends in other spaces, and I can be versatile. So I definitely want to be very, very agile in different environments and add more value to me. So I definitely see doing the PhD route allows me to add values in a lot of different arenas. But definitely, like I love the space that I'm in. It's definitely challenged me being around some of those intellectual people. So definitely.
And let's expound on that, right? You talked about access. We repeatedly referred to access all throughout this episode. Talk about how the importance of access is, right? Like you having that access to a bunch of engineers or your friends that are on this route to completing a PhD with you, right? Like what is that experience been? Like you go from Detroit where family members don't even understand or can't fathom you pursuing a PhD to now being in a circle full of engineers that are just locked in, ambitious and ready to go and ready to build, especially things or potential products of the future. So what is that experience? What has that experience been like this far?
Yeah. So like we was on a call possibly like a month ago, and they were just talking about like different things that's been going on in the world. And it was like, well, at the end of the day, like we're not gonna be taxi drivers. Like they said that like laughing and joking, but it was real, like literally, like we're literally doctors and innovators, but at least like you're not gonna be doing something that you really don't want to. And so being able to be here in this position allowed me to like sit back and realize that it's classes in life. And me being in this route and in the PhD route allowed me to be in a higher class of society. And so I'm blessed and fortunate to be able to have this exposure to be in this position. But truthfully, like there are different classes and rankings in society, and depending on what people you're around, circles, kind of where you grew up, you kind of get thrown into these different classes. But we have opportunities where you can break through, and this is my opportunity of me breaking through and elevating into a different arena of people and exposure that I wouldn't have had the exposure to unless doing the PhD.
You're around all of these engineers. You have this ability to tap into this network. How has this impacted the work that you're focusing on for your PhD? And what impact do you believe your research will have on the broader industry that it's set in?
Yeah, so just being around a lot of different people and just like discussing like my project and stuff, they allow me to like rethink it. So asking me questions that I may have like not thought about, having me explain things that I may not have explained before, and so like really challenge me on growing and learning and being able to say things and explain things in different ways and perspectives, but really at the root of it thinking about the problem more deeply, pulling me into new areas and new arenas based upon their experience and exposures and their perspectives. So I definitely, I'm grateful to be around like great minds to allow me to, push my work more, as in the actual influence of my work into directly like industry. I look at it as me building the foundational skills for research, and being able to think outside the box, but then also thinking outside the box to come and construct a plan to actually get to that thought that you thought of. And so research is definitely a process, and it's something that is unique, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do the PhD, because it allows me to solve problems that are complex and start from the ground up. So literally I came into the program not having any background, learning all the skills and all the intuition that I needed to actually become a cutting edge thinkers. And so I feel like being able to replicate that in different areas allows me to grow and expand. And then once I come into real practical life, I'm able to think about things from the ground up and be able to add that innovation, that influence, the thought to be able to bring ideas into fruition. And so that's more or less about my journey in PhD and why I wanted to do this, because I just wanted to be able to solve any problems, become a thinker, and have that impact, intellectually with the engineering to be able to solve those problems.
Well, what do you think is the future of drones, right? Especially with the legalities around drones. There are certain areas where drones are illegal to use, you know, i.e. New York. And so how do you think that will affect drone research or the usage of drones in certain areas? And do you think the legalities will change?
Right, right. I'll say within this space, we have to like trust on the people that's operating the systems. And so I feel like more or less, the drones can do a lot of things, like they can crash and be harmful, or they can do different things in that. But then also they can be like bad in some situations, as in like snooping on people. We don't know to what extent like these drones can be like detrimental to us or spy on us in different ways. And so I guess in my arena, just finding like a trusted company that will ensure that we can we can be trusted by them. I'll say like just simple things is like Amazon deploying within like their smart home systems like a network that we don't even know about. Like it was some news that came out the other day that Amazon was deploying things within their systems to create a network, and that can like be a loophole within like your wireless communication system. And so I looked at it, I tried to find it in my phone, but I guess they may have did some updates. But now it's like, okay, now what's going on? Can I trust you? Like, can I allow you within my home and still say that you trust me? You say on the website that you're not snooping on me within like the Alexa, but like, are you really? Are you really not? And so finding these different companies that we can ensure that are morally, valid within entering within our space is one to say. And I think that scales up to drones being able them having access to different areas that you may only have in a car or something like that, or from far away from an airplane. So definitely that's rule number one with me thinking about bringing drones into our everyday lives.
Now, we've always talked about this, right? We've always discussed how uh, there is a lack of BIPOC presence across all spaces except entertainment. Um, but could you talk about, because you are at a unique period in your life, right? You understand that, and I'm sure we can agree that there isn't a strong BIPOC presence in your program. And I think that because you're in this program, you have the opportunity to change the game. I would even say that you have the opportunity to create an initiative to bring in more people of color pursuing a PhD at Rice, brother. Like this could be monumental for you right now. What do you think it would take for the BIPOC presence to change within STEM fields?
Yeah, it starts with the people at the table. And so I have like experience with like discussing with different professors about a student that we have at our university. And so being able to, you know, have people at the table that will vouch for you, that's kind of where it starts, because they literally are the gatekeepers. And so it's been times, and I've been hearing from different people that, you know, this student is very qualified, but yet they're going to pull from only this select pool of students. And so if you don't have anyone at the table that's double checking and ensuring that, you know, we are able to come into some of these doors, and that we're literally given a shot essentially like everyone else at the university, then I don't think it will change. And so you won't have that exposure if you can't get in, you know. So I feel like that's where it starts. And it starts with us, you know, being able to get into those doors and sit at those tables and change some things. And so with all the things that's going on within media, hopefully we can have more of a presence, and it can be an awakening for them to, you know, give us more shots and opportunities to, you know, come through. And I mean, even at our university, like one of the students that got in got the NSF. And so the NSF is one of the biggest grants that you can get. And literally, like, you know, it's paying off. Like literally, like you have an NSF fellow because you gave that student an opportunity. So it's not like, you know, we're failing out here, but no, we're thriving. We just need that opportunity given to us. So definitely, I see that as the main issue for more minority students, as well as like on us getting exposure to say, hey, I do want to go to graduate school. So two-way street, we have to want to do it, but then also they have to give us the opportunity to do it.
Given the importance of all of those factors, so the advising, the mentorship, the ability to have a presence on the opposite side of the table, has this really influenced your decision about what's going to be the end goal for Terence after you complete this PhD? Are you going to go into academia outright, or are you going to go into industry and explore opportunities there? What are you thinking?
Yeah. So I'm kind of in between. So I'm not one or the other. I'm definitely trying to see how both of the routes are. So right now I still have time to like interview people to see kind of their experience. But definitely I wasn't thinking about teaching once I started a PhD, but now I'm considering. So it's kind of up in the air right now. But definitely having the opportunity to do both is a blessing. The PhD affords you that exposure to be able to do that.
This has been a great interview. This has been a great show today. We definitely appreciate you coming by, providing that insight, sharing your knowledge on drones, because again, this is going to be something that's going to be ever present, especially as you see more and more options come out into the consumer market, and the additional things that are going to be happening from an industry standpoint. I think similar to what you were mentioning around Amazon and potentially them even deploying them to get deliveries out. So definitely interesting topics. We appreciate you dropping by. And what we have for you now is the final question for the interview. And particularly what we want to ask is, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give your younger self?
Mm, that's deep right there. That's deep right there. Let me take a moment. So if I was to tell my younger self kind of 3 pieces of advice, I mean, I I'll stick with the advice that I got now. Being fearful. I mean, being fearless. You know, you want to be fearless and you want to be doubtless. These are like some keys of advice that I kind of put in my head, and these are like my mantras in my head. Like literally, I have like things around in my house to kind of keep me going, because I feel like mantras are a part of you. You know, providing yourself the destiny that you want to become. Because we often think about, hey, it may be too hard, it may be too tough. And being able to be in that arena and in that space, you have to like defy the gravity in your head. And so being able to tell yourself, your self, and then going down to your subconscious, and those are some things that I do to defy my gratitude in my head to be able to think forward. And so I'll tell my younger self that, create some more of those mantras early on. That way you can, you push yourself even harder. Um, and I guess 3 in all, but I mean, hey, just keep pushing. I feel like the exposure is everything. And so like, I know if I could have got out of the country sooner, I would have. Like, literally, that's, I guess, number 2. I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, literally, when you travel to like a whole nother country, a whole nother world, it's like different cultures, different mindsets, different liking. Like, literally, I went into Turkey, and like guys were holding hands, but it wasn't on anything that we would think in America, but it's just a whole new way of thinking that, culture wise and exposures, and to make you more well rounded. And so if I can tell my younger self, do study abroad sooner. Like, if I could get that was my access, so start study abroad sooner, find out where all that stuff is. And then I guess lastly is that notion of who has my money. Like, I wasn't thinking that. And so when I started off college, I was paying for it. And then as I got more and more into like the schooling, I realized that there are opportunities for me to get money for school. And so being able to find those opportunities, apply, and then follow through with them is kind of what I would tell my younger self. It's like, it's a lot of free money out here for education. It's up to us to get it. Literally, it's up to us to get it. So I guess in total, come up with those mantras, get that exposure by studying abroad, and get to the money, man. Get to the money.
Ooh, that was heat, brother. We truly appreciate you for stopping by, giving us the jewels and the gems, but things that could be actionable, right? Things that could be applicable in our daily lives and our daily routines. And I'm sure everyone is going to be excited to hear this up and coming episode. So appreciate you, brother. Stay strong, King. And we look forward to having you back on the pod very soon.
Most definitely. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you.